Just days before South Africans mark another year of unfulfilled promises around crime and justice, a political drama has erupted in Xolani, one with deep implications for law enforcement, accountability, and power. At its center stands a man who has built his public identity on confronting criminals head-on. On Monday, January 19th, Action SA's Xolani mayoral candidate, Councillor Xolani Khumalo, will voluntarily walk into a police station and hand himself over to the South African Police Service. Not because he was cornered, not because he fled and was tracked down, but because, according to his party, the very institution meant to protect law-abiding citizens has allegedly turned its sights on someone who has made enemies by fighting crime too aggressively. In a country where criminals are routinely released, cases collapse without explanation, and communities are left to fend for themselves, the image of an anti-crime politician surrendering himself to police hits like a punch to the gut. It raises an uncomfortable question many South Africans have asked in whispers for years. What happens when you fight crime in a system that may be protecting it? Action SA says, instead of waiting for a dramatic arrest, Khumalo chose to confront the situation directly. The party says he arranged a meeting with police to establish their intentions and agreed to hand himself over voluntarily. To his supporters, this is an act of transparency and confidence. To his critics, it is a political stunt. But beneath the surface lies a far more troubling narrative, one that speaks to corruption, intimidation, and a justice system many South Africans no longer trust. According to Action SA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont, this case is not about assault at all. It is about retaliation. The party traces the origins of the matter back to a SAPS operation conducted in Cattlehamn in 2025. During that operation, police raided the home of a suspected drug dealer. Khumalo, known for his hands-on involvement in community anti-crime initiatives, was present. Police allegedly discovered unlicensed ammunition and arrested the suspect, a seemingly straightforward law enforcement success. Then the story takes a turn. South Africans know all too well. The suspect was later released without appearing before a court. According to Action SA, the unlicensed ammunition that formed the basis of the arrest was allegedly returned. No charges, no prosecution, no accountability. Soon after his release, the same suspect reportedly opened an assault case against Khumalo. It is this charge, which Action SA insists is false and malicious, that police are now allegedly moving to act upon. For many South Africans, the pattern feels familiar. Suspects walk free, dockets disappear, evidence evaporates, and when someone interferes with lucrative criminal networks, suddenly the machinery of justice begins to move, but not against the criminals. Beaumont did not mince his words. He said the case reflects systemic failures within SAPS, arguing that corrupt elements inside the police too often protect criminals while targeting those who actively fight crime. That is a serious allegation, but one that resonates deeply in communities ravaged by drugs, gangsterism, and violent crime, where residents regularly accuse police officers of colluding with dealers, tipping off syndicates, or simply looking the other way. Action SA goes even further, claiming that the suspect at the center of this saga is allegedly involved in a drug-dealing racket with members of SAPS themselves. The party says it is working with law enforcement authorities to investigate these alleged links, a claim that, if proven, would expose a rot far deeper than a single assault charge. For Khumalo, this is not just a legal challenge. It is a direct threat to his political future and personal safety. He is not an ordinary councillor operating quietly behind committee doors. He is a nationally recognized figure, largely because of his high-profile involvement in television programs focused on crime and community safety. Through these platforms, he has built a reputation as a confrontational, uncompromising figure who directly challenges alleged drug dealers and exposes criminal operations in communities that feel abandoned by the state. Supporters hail him as fearless. Critics accuse him of vigilantism. Criminals, according to Action SA, see him as a problem that needs to be neutralized. In that context, an assault charge laid by a suspected drug dealer who was previously arrested and released takes on a different meaning. It becomes a weapon, a way to discredit, distract, and potentially remove a political threat without confronting him in the open. The timing is also impossible to ignore. Khumalo is Action SA's mayoral candidate in Ekurhuleni, a metro plagued by corruption scandals, collapsing services, and entrenched criminal networks. Control of the city is not just about governance. It is about power, access to resources, and influence. By voluntarily handing himself over, Khumalo and Action SA appear to be attempting to seize control of the narrative. There will be no dramatic dawn raid, no images of a politician dragged away in handcuffs. Instead, a calculated act of compliance designed to say, "We have nothing to hide," but that does not erase the underlying danger. In South Africa, the legal process itself can be the punishment. Even if charges are weak, even if cases eventually collapse, the damage is done. Reputations are stained, campaigns are disrupted, energy and resources are drained, and the message to others who might want to challenge criminal networks is loud and clear. This is what happens when you push too hard. This case also lands at a moment when public confidence in SAPS is dangerously low. Repeated scandals involving senior officers, allegations of political interference, and the daily reality of unsolved murders and rampant drug dealing have left many South Africans convinced that parts of the police service are compromised. Against that backdrop, Beaumont's statement that corrupt elements within SAPS target crime fighters while allowing criminals to walk free does not sound radical. It sounds plausible. That is precisely what makes this situation so explosive. If Khumalo is guilty of assault, the law must take its course. No politician, no matter how popular or well-intentioned, is above the law. But if the charge is fabricated or weaponized, then this case becomes an indictment not of one man, but of the entire criminal justice system. It would suggest that South Africa has reached a point where confronting crime openly is more dangerous than committing it quietly. Khumalo's supporters argue that his voluntary surrender demonstrates respect for the rule of law, something criminals themselves rarely show. They say it exposes the hypocrisy of a system where drug dealers are released while anti-crime activists are pursued. His critics argue that celebrity anti-crime tactics blur the line between law enforcement and vigilantism, and that being present during police operations does not grant immunity from accountability. Both positions will be tested in the days ahead. What is undeniable is that this case will be watched closely, not just by Action SA supporters, but by communities across the country desperate for leaders willing to confront crime without fear. If Khumalo emerges cleared, it will embolden those who argue the system is being abused to silence crime fighters. If he is charged and prosecuted, it will raise uncomfortable questions about whether anti-crime activism has crossed legal boundaries or whether the law itself has been bent. Either way, the symbolism is unavoidable. A mayoral candidate voluntarily handing himself over to police while alleged drug dealers walk free captures the deep contradictions of South Africa's fight against crime. It is a story about power, fear, and the price of standing in the way of criminal networks. It is a story about a justice system under strain and a society increasingly unsure who the law truly serves. On Monday, when Xolani Khumalo walks into that police station, he will not just be handing himself over. He will be placing the credibility of SAPS, the integrity of the courts, and the future of anti-crime politics in South Africa under a harsh and unforgiving spotlight. And whatever